like, thankfully I've like gone through a lot of the hard lessons already. And so I feel you, man. I'm excited for 30s. And plus it's like our prime. That's what I'm hearing is like, yeah, this is the sweet spot. Like, let it ride.
Yes, exactly. You know, I think everybody is having a lot more fun in their 30s and 40s than they ever did in their 20s. You know, people are living longer lives. That gives you a longer time to kind of figure things out and not be having social media rush your timeline. Everybody's like, oh, you know, it's weird if I have a baby after this age. It's weird if I go to college after this age. It's weird if I don't go to college at all. If it's weird if I don't buy a house by this time or get married by this time or have jobs A, B, or C because those are the only ones that are socially accepted and make this much money. It's like, and retire. It's like, why not build a life that you don't need to retire from? Why not get married if and only if you want to? Have a kid if you want to, not for the sake of posting all over social media, but just because you want to. You know, if you want to have a new job, do it. You know, don't, everybody's in such a rush, like slow down. Don't let social media rush your timeline. Just do you, you know?
Exactly. And I feel like me and you are in like the same generation bracket where like we were expected to know what we wanted to do at 19 years old. And we were expected, you know, like I remember I had a timeline just like the one you're talking about, like, okay, by 25, I need to already have a kid. I need to already like be married and do the thing. And like, even when I first got married, my husband and I, we moved here to Illinois. We got a house in the burbs with the expectation of let's have kids kind of thing. And then like literally right before, like, I mean, we were like in the process of trying to make that happen. And I was like, whoa, this isn't what I want kind of thing, because I got a gig. And I'm like, and that's when I finally realized I was like, I don't want to have kids, like at least not anytime soon. Cause I was like the like gig life and doing and performing and doing the whole thing. I'm like, that's the biggest high that I want to ride out right now. And not to say that you can't do both, you can. But I'm just like, no, I'm like, it's like picking up right now. So I can't, but like, I'm with you though. Cause I feel like do what is going to make you happy. And I love that. I'm going to steal that from you. Create a life that you don't want to retire from. Like, I love that so much.
Exactly. Like, to me, retiring is so unrealistic, especially for the industry I feel that we're in, you know, and I've talked to a lot of NFL players that feel the same way. You know, a lot of people that work these socially accepted careers like doctor, teacher, police officer, grocery store, you know, mechanic, the list goes on and on and on. You can work those jobs for like 35, 50, 60 years, maybe even 70 years, depends, you know, but the lifespan for a career of a pro athlete is so small.
Yeah.
So small. You can make way more money, but it's so small and it's out of your control. You know, you and I can go down a huge morbid list of how many people's careers were cut short without them wanting it to be. You know, it happens to NFL players all the time. It happened to Paige. It happens to so many people. Sometimes it's out of your control. And so I think that's a lot of what a lot of people don't understand is, you know, you can't rush that timeline. And so creating a life that you don't need to retire from is probably the best thing you can ever do. So for example, when you finally decide, okay, I want to be a mom now, I'm ready for whatever that means. 'Cause I don't think you can ever truly be ready, but I'm ready to try.
Right.
You're going to be such a better parent because you're going to know what it was like to fulfill your dreams and you're going to show your child that. And I think that that's really important because a lot of kids, I'm speaking from experience as like, a preschool teacher and working at, you know, summer camps and things, kids don't know what self-love is. You know, kids are on YouTube. I know 5-year-olds at that time that had better cell phone than I did. You know, they had the latest iPhone and iPad, which blew my mind. That's the parent. You know, their parents are social media. So you have to stop and think, social media, if you guys all thought Disney was ruining your kids, which I mean, come on, like really, no, I think you're not parenting your kids. But I think on the flip side of that, is that parents these days don't have the time to parent their kids. Everything's so expensive. Rent goes up and up and up. Bills go up, you know. I mean, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, those are all things that children expect to have. Those cost tons of money. Internet, the rent, the food on the table, keeping your kid in clothes because everybody knows how fast they grow. You know, so, and plus school and daycare, it all costs so much. So honestly, I do have to give some credit to parents. Working a regular 9 to 5 doesn't pay all the bills all the time. Some parents have to work 3 jobs. That's a lot of pressure. That's a lot of juggling. They can't parent their kids. And sometimes it's not because they don't want to. So that brings me to something that I wanted to ask you from your perspective. When your mom was on here, I had asked her about her advice for parents because of her being on the road so much with you and your sister growing up. How was that for her from a parent's perspective? And she talked about how that was very hard. Because, yeah, she was doing something she loved. She also loved you guys. And she felt like she was missing out on so many key things that certain other superstars couldn't relate to. You know, they wouldn't be able to understand why she was, you know, doing so many great things on Monday Night Raw or on SmackDown, but then she was sad. And it's like she didn't always have somebody to relate to for that. And she would be lonely, and then she would feel like less of a parent because she would miss, you know, your first date or, you know, having to video call before video call the thing, you know, parent teacher sort of conferences and things like that, and having the nanny, feeling like nanny was more of a parent than she was. And she talked about that being very hard. And I asked her, what would be your advice to parents that are similarly juggling so much just to get by day to day to provide for your children? And she said, listen to your kids. Sit down and talk to them. Let them talk about whatever it is that they want to talk about, and just be there to listen and enjoy listening. And it made me think, and she agreed. I was like, you know, if you're getting down on your child's level and letting them talk to you and you're listening, I feel like that indirectly teaches them self-confidence, because so many adults like to talk down to kids simply because they're children, and that teaches them condescension is okay. And so I felt she was very smart in that aspect, that she wanted to get down on a child's level and just hear how your day was. Hear what was going on, or, hey, the sky is blue because of whatever in science class that I learned today, whatever the case may be. So that was her perspective as a parent. Can you tell everybody listening and or watching your advice from a child's perspective growing up like that? Like, what do you think more parents should understand from the child's perspective about what's going through their mind and maybe what they need a little bit more of, and how that also felt, you know, from your mom's perspective of sitting down and talking with you? Can you go over both of those in your own way?
I guess, like, what I would say, like, looking back and whatnot, like, what my mom did, like, for me personally, I know she had two kids, me and my sister, and I think my sister had a different experience than I did. But because I was older, my mom was very honest with me about why she wasn't there and whatnot. And like, and granted, we're kids. We don't know the value of money yet. You know what I mean? So we can't know about like how much the mortgage is and how much this and this and this. And this is why mom has to do all these things. But she was extremely honest with me the entire time. She made time to talk to me if I was feeling like she wasn't there enough and whatnot. And so I appreciate, like, yes, she listened to me, just like what you said she told you. Like, she did listen to me a lot, and she made it a point to check on me all the time. How was your day? Whatnot. Let me talk. Let me vent. And then she was also, on the other front of that, she was also just telling me, like, why she was away so much. And, like, she also was honest about her feelings, about, like, her being sad that she couldn't be there. And I felt like because she did all of those things, it helped me understand. It helped me feel empathetic, and it also helped me kind of get, like, you know, she's working hard for me. And so I feel like I was able to understand that. As far as what kids could do, is that the second part of the question of like what kids can do to understand? I'm sorry, I want to make sure I understand.
It was more along the lines of, as a child, how did that stuff feel to you? And
her being gone.
Not just being gone, the ways in which she tried to make up for it, like, so that parents can understand from a child's perspective. Because a lot of times I don't think adults really think that children understand what's going on. But what I've learned is that children are sponges. They absorb everything from the environment. Just because they don't understand it yet doesn't mean they're not picking up on it. They pick up on energy. They pick up on tone. They pick up on if something's right or if something's going on that's wrong. They just don't have enough experience yet to understand what it is. So I want more parents to understand how much of a sponge children really are, even if they don't have enough life experience yet to understand what it is they're picking up on.
Right. I feel like as a, like, and granted, like, when all of this was happening, I was already 15. So, like, I was a little bit older, and, like, and I think, like, I mean, it's actually a complex question that, that you're asking right now, because I feel like when my dad died when I was 15, I saw what my mom went through. She was trying to be the rock, and she was being strong as hell for us, like, the entire time. Because my dad didn't leave a will. My dad didn't leave anything like to help my mom out in a situation like that. So as much as she was strong for us and whatnot, I saw how hard it was, and I saw her struggle, and I saw and felt like how much she was going through. But at the same time, like, I mean, at the time, I wish I could tell you like more about like how I think, I guess, how it affected me. But honestly, like, at that time in my life, like, I was kind of numb. We were just kind of trying to go through the motions and whatnot. All I know was that my mom was strong and she was doing her best. Now, my sister might have a different perspective because she was a lot younger. She was only 10 years old when my dad passed. And when she was going through the high school, middle school phase, my mom was gone a lot. And so I feel like my mom's emotions may have been more centered around my sister, and whatnot. So I think it's a little bit more complicated in her eyes. So sorry, I feel like I'm all over the place with this question. It's a little hard for me because I feel like I don't want to say like a second parent in the household, but I kind of was a little bit. Like, I was trying to take care of my sister with the nanny kind of thing. So I don't know if I was kind of registering all those emotions on my mom's side. I feel like I was just trying to be her friend and her rock when she was home, and to try and have my issues not be as much of a burden on her because I knew she was going through so much. So, but you're right. I think like kids do pick up on a lot of things, and we do pick up on like the subtleties, and maybe that is my experience. I knew she was going through so much. She was so sad, like trying to be everything at work, be everything for my sister, be everything for me, that I feel like I was just trying to not be a problem, like not be a burden on her at all. So yeah. I don't know, it's kind of a hard question.
It is, because it's a hard thing to understand and go through, on both sides, as the child growing up and as well as the parent. I can relate in my own way because, I'm 7 years older than my sister. So when we were going through stuff at home, our perspectives were totally different. So you're spot on. It is different because the intellectual capacity is different. You're already starting to get life experience, even though you don't know anything yet. So yeah, you pick up on different things. And I think some people put pressure on the kids in the sense of, okay, you're 18 now, you're an adult. It's time for you to go off in the world and do whatever it is you want to do. And it's like, it's not that long ago that I was just, going to prom or, taking my first driver's test. I really don't think at 18 I'm an adult yet, and I think that that's something where we do a disservice to kids. It's like, it's okay to not have everything figured out. Just because you're 18 legally does not mean you're an adult. Mm-hmm. It's okay to not know what you want to do in life and not know who you are yet. You're supposed to go out into the world and figure that out.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I feel like I have like two versions of that experience, because I feel like absolutely yes, like I feel like it's crazy that adults expect like kids to like know what they want to do with their life, and I'm like, you don't know until you're in it, man. You don't know until you are in the field. It's like, oh yeah, this isn't for me. But I do feel like on the other side of that, I had to grow up quickly, even when my dad was alive, because I mean, we grew up in a pretty tumultuous household. Like, dad was undergoing a lot of substance abuse, and mom was just trying to like keep it together. And so I feel like at a lot of the times, like, I was trying to keep the family together and trying to take care of my sister and trying to, like I said, I feel like as a child, I was always trying to just not be a problem, like just try and not get in the way, because it was just such a hard house to live in. And so I felt like I grew up a lot, and maybe that's why, like, in my high school years, I think I carried that over. I was just trying to like, just make sure I wasn't a burden on my mom, because she was already having to be mom, dad, and breadwinner, and on top of like navigating this business that was so hard for her to navigate. And it was like, I mean, she excelled beautifully, obviously. We saw that, but it was hard. And, people were not kind to her when she was there. It was a hard locker room for her to be in. And so I felt like I was always just trying to like hang back and just make sure like she was okay. So, but